This is not Martin Noakes. This is actually Michael Manoel Chaves. How are you, Michael?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good to see you. Did you meet Sean before?
Yes, we met once before. Hiya.
How you doing, mate? You well?
I'm good.
No makeup today. Where's the? Come on.
Yeah. I'm incognito today. You see, I'm in disguise.
I'll have to explain that one in a minute.
Yeah.
Michael, you've been back out there causing trouble, haven't you? And I say that with great affection. It's Drag Queen Story Hour. You've been very, like you were at the forefront of the protests to do with COVID. You're at the forefront of this. I've seen you in the newspapers, and basically you're protesting about Drag Queen Story Hour, the official UK tour, which is it features Ada HD, real name Sab Samuel, a drag queen, and the issue really, I understand, is not necessarily about this individual, but it's about the concept of drag queens reading to children. Why did you get involved with all of this, Michael?
We've noticed this agenda coming down from on high for a while, you know, about the sexualization of our children. And when it was brought to our attention that, I mean, we saw it coming over from America. So we've seen all the quite explicit videos coming from America of drag queens and stuff like that around young children. And it just seems, because I'm a grandparent, you know, and it just seems wholly inappropriate to me, the whole idea of an adult entertainer being paid by local councils to go into a library reading to children under the guise of equal opportunities or whatever they want to call it, you know.
Diversity and inclusion.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Right. Because I've been trying to find the guy under the guys. Right. Okay.
Yeah. And but diversity and inclusion in 2020 appears to be about men dressing up as women, because diversity and inclusion, so I understand it, should cover different ethnicities, disabilities, different faiths. But it all seems to be about men in women's clothing and the big push for that.
Or sexuality as a whole.
Yeah, sexuality as a whole, absolutely. So, Michael, what have you encountered on the front line?
Wow, it's been quite amazing, to be honest. I don't know how much of our story you've seen. The first one was in Reading, where he opened his tour, and we had a massive amount of people down there, and we weren't there to protest. Don't get me wrong, we weren't about protesting. What we were going to do was effect a civil arrest, you know, a citizen's arrest on ADH for what we perceive as the crime of grooming, and we were quite literally just going to hand him over to the police right there and then. We were stopped from doing that by the police, and we were informed that if we tried to arrest him, we ourselves would then be arrested. So that kind of foiled that plan. But it went on for the day, you know. We went to 3 different libraries, and it kind of went on, and we had this argy-bargy with the police. Then what happened, a few days later, we turned up at the library, and a group of Antifa, well, I'm guessing they were Antifa, they were dressed like paramilitary, black balaclavas, black sunglasses, hoodies, caps, earpiece, you know, and these people they certainly weren't LGBT. They were there to create, they were there to create trouble. And the great thing about them is that they did what we were unable to do, because they kept kicking off, they kept arguing with the police, trying to start violence on our group of middle-aged protesters. You know, we were all there, middle-aged people. They started trying to cause trouble with us, and then they ended up getting arrested. And because of them and because of their antics, the libraries actually started getting shut down. So the drag queen reading hour was postponed or cancelled in so many libraries. So we have to thank Antifa for that, because we couldn't have done that. They were just ignoring us. We were like a group of old people stood outside. They didn't pay us no attention. But when the Antifa lot turned up, all of a sudden, all the libraries are getting shut down. And I'm like, well, my job's done here. You know, all I have to do is turn up and watch them idiots. And they were idiots. I mean, they managed to get themselves arrested. I think 3 different libraries, different members of their contingent got arrested. So
they're
it was
clueless. They're very young, primarily very middle class. And because I've encountered these people, I know what they're like. They're absolutely, there was a comment about the Reading thing from Billy Antimony, 18 from Calcott. He said, I'm here in support of drag and children being exposed to drag and the arts. Even that wording, children being exposed to drag, is like, that's a really interesting description, right? Really interesting. Go on, Sean.
The word exposed, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? So I watched the Rumble clip of you in Brighton, was it?
Yeah.
And some of the responses that you were getting, I mean, you know, I hate to put that stereotype, but it's most people with it's like that blue hair mentality.
Yeah.
And there was one woman that I heard in the background say to you, I don't know if you caught this bit, but she said, because you were saying, you know, it's an adult entertainment's job, that shouldn't happen. And this woman literally just said, sex workers have children too. They need to read books. And I just thought, like, that is like the concept that they're having. Like, sex workers have kids too, and they read books to their kids at home. So what's wrong with a drag queen being in a school? But she's just called it a sex worker herself, but then doesn't even take on board what you're saying. And I just thought, like, it's the tunnel vision that some people have.
Yes.
Is insane. And I was brought up watching Paul O'Grady on drag.
Right.
That's the level of drag I was subjected to. It was on the TV. He was a hilarious man. My grandma loved him. Lily Savage, that was it. And you know, Lily Savage was quite a cheeky, rude drag, but
as innuendo. But
yeah,
this is what they're trying
on a Saturday night at 7:30.
Right, exactly. But this is exactly what they're trying to do, though, Michael. And I'm sure you can confirm. So this whole idea is what we saw reported last week. Is they're saying don't call them drag queens, call them pantomime dames, because that's less problematic. Oh yes, but we've grown up with pantomime dames, and Widow Twanky is not the same as a drag queen. A drag queen is a sexualized parody of a woman. I've seen pictures of these drag queens reading to children with erections. They've got erections as they're reading, right? So, Michael, to be on the front line there, and I saw that Ben Cohen of Pink News had made this comment. Ben and I are on different sides of the fence, absolutely. And he'd made this comment about how, I see it's the same crowd who are anti-vax, who are now on the, against drag queens and everything. But so what? So what if it's the same people who were protesting against COVID and the madness around that? Why can't it be the same people? And they're trying to turn you into this whole idea that you're some right-wing conspiracy, Michael. How do you feel about that?
You know, I accept that I'm a conspiracy theorist because that's exactly what I am. But being an activist as well, they're not so, exclusive to each other. I can be an activist fighting against the corruption of the government, because my problem with this is that I don't have the power to walk into a library dressed as a woman or dressed as anything and start reading to kids. So someone's put this in motion. Someone's allowed it to happen. Right. Someone's got this guy police protection in and out of every library he goes to. Someone is paying for this on high. They've got every council in the UK agreeing to it and taking it on board. They've got every library saying, oh, yes, it's fine. You can't rock up to a library and start reading to kids. So this comes down from on high. So from my mad conspiracy mind, it's part of an agenda. And I know what the agenda is. The agenda is the sexualization of our children. The agenda is, in the long run, to reduce the age of consent. They want MAPs put on their flag, and they're absolutely okay with that. And I'm like, you people are not the real LGBT. No. The real LGBT are totally against paedophilia. They're totally against grooming children, but they're scared to come out and stand with us. The LGBT that are there, and I've spoken to a lot of them, they are there because they are under the misconception that we are against their right to be who they are.
Yeah.
Or to sleep with who they choose to sleep with, or to dress how they choose to dress. And that is not what we're doing there. We are against the grooming of children. And once they realize that it's not an attack on them, and I'm not homophobic and I'm not far right, that they're like, they warm to me, and you seen, like, as you alluded to at the beginning of the conversation, I turn up in makeup. I wear a skirt. I wear bright pink. Pink is my color anyway, usually.
I'm sure it suits you beautifully.
Thank you very much. But that allows me to communicate with them on on an even playing field. You know, they can't then criticize me and say, oh, well, look at the way you're dressed, because hold on a minute, you know, we've all got the right to dress how we choose to dress. And if I choose to wear makeup and earrings and lipstick, which is exactly what I used to dress like in the 80s, you know, it was all cool back then. But if I choose to dress like that, no one can criticize me. But I'm able to get in and have these deep conversations with these people. Right. And they're there to protest against us because of the misconception of what we're doing there. But once they understand, then we get a much better dialogue. But the Antifa lot are just there in the middle of it to try and antagonize everyone.
Oh, they are paid for provocateurs. That's what they are. They've always been on the wrong side of history. I should say, very interesting, that I was contacted this morning by an organization called Gays Against Groomers. And because exactly what you just said, Mick, and that is what's going on out there is not representing a lot of LGBT people. And they are sick and tired of it. Stonewall, complete sellout, because the tea is so much more profitable. Right, there's so much links into it, and you're right, it's a top down. I've been looking at this for about 4 or 5 years. It's top down. This is not grassroots. This, when you've got the Secretary of Health in America who is a man claiming to be a woman, I would not have anybody overseeing my health who thinks they're born in the wrong body, right? And they're not. He doesn't. He's an autogynephile. I don't know if you're familiar with the expression autogynephile. Yes. Right, so it's men who are sexually aroused by being perceived as women. And that's what we're dealing with a lot of the time with these people. So it's not just a case of, I mean, like what you're doing is you're theatrical when you dress up, right? But that's not what the whole drag queen is about, going to children. And I oppose it greatly. And I'm so grateful for people like you on the front line. But just let me ask you this.
Why is it not firefighters? Why is it not firefighters in the library?
Right.
Or nurses, or
people in wheelchairs, elderly people, you know, I mean, it's just the same thing. And that is why, like Mick, I know it's an agenda, right? You know,
I thank you a lot, Mick, honestly.
Thank you.
I really do.
What about the children, Mick? I have to ask about that. The children who are witnessing these clashes, have you seen any sort of distress from these children?
You know what, it's really disturbing that you should say that, Sonia. So after each event, he releases a team photograph. So he gets all the children to stand together, and he does this one hand high and one hand low Baphomet kind of sign, and he gets all the children to do it, and it's really insidious. And you look at the kids' faces, and the oh so woke parents, they're all there with their false smiles. But you look at the kids' faces on these photographs. I posted them on my page. And these kids look kind of confused. There's a kind of fear in their eyes. They don't really know what they're doing there. And we've been outside these libraries, and kids have come out crying their eyes out because they don't understand.
You're right there, Mick.
Sorry, it just gets to me because it's, you know, what they're doing to their own children. They don't realize what they're doing. They think that they're so woke and they're so clever and they're so in with it, and it's so inclusive of everything. But it's an agenda that's going after their own children, and they won't even see it.
Exactly. I should say, obviously, this is Mick's opinion. He's completely entitled to his opinion and what he thinks about drag queens and individual drag queens. Let me read you some of these comments, Mick. Mick is a warrior, says Clarice. Julie says, oh, such a lovely man, so big but so soft at heart. He's really growing on me. And yes, exactly. Miss Chatnoir says, I got hate tweets for supporting Gays Against Groomers, saying they were paid for right-wing shills. Of course, they'll always say that, won't they? And oh, Mick, says Trude, Yogi Bear is shell-shocked, actually. And Julie says, I think Mick is a rare man. Mick, you are right, says Yogi. People are hypnotized, Senatori, serving their children up to the darkness. And that is the thing. And that is where I've been writing about the sexualization of children since my daughter was 6. She's going to be 25 this year. I saw it coming. I saw it happening around her. I was able to protect her. But when I see these parents who are just basically offering their children up, I think that this is my opinion. Any parent who takes their child to see drag queen story time, they should be subject to social services investigation. That is my opinion. Mick, leave us on a parting note. Are you going to continue going around the country on this?
Yes, I'm taking. We've divided up the protests between North and South. I'm doing I'm doing the south of England. So I've got a few days off before they're back down here in the south. But I'll be at the libraries again, making a nuisance of myself, donning my makeup, donning my earrings, you know, and getting out there and doing it. Because what we have done, and what I'm really proud of, not just me, but everybody in the resistance who's taking part in this, is we are making it public. People are seeing it on the BBC, whether it doesn't matter how bad they portray me. People are saying, hold on a minute, drag queens in libraries, what's that about? Yeah. And that is all we're after, you know. That was all we was after with the COVID, that people realize there's another side to it. And that's all we're after now, is that people realize. So the mainstream can write their articles about me all day long, as long as they're saying that there's drag queens in libraries, and then people can make their own choices.
100%. Julie's falling in love with you, Mick. She wants to know if you're single. Julie, behave yourselves. Yogi says, Sonia, the kids are shell shocked coming out. It's disgusting. Yes, they are. And Fancy Cut makes a point, which I believe is probably essentially true. And that is, it's the same parents that get their kids jabbed. Right.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a great deal in 100%. That. I really do. Listen, Mick, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's always a pleasure to see you. And honestly, I know some people, you know, some sort of middle class activists are like, oh, I don't think we should be doing that. But what are you doing to stop it? That's my question. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Mick,
absolutely.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Michael Manoel Chaves, take good care of yourself.
Beautiful,
love.
Man. Thank you.
Speak soon.
Cheers.
Bye.